Listen, I have been working security detail on the Galactic Academy station for 6 rotations now, and I thought I had seen everything, every species, every type of student, every flavor of diplomatic incident that could possibly occur when you cram 2,000 adolescents from 47 different worlds into one pressurized tin can floating in the void. But nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, prepared me for what happened with the human. My name is Korvan. I am a Thelian, which means I stand roughly 8 feet tall, have 4 arms and can bench press a small transport vehicle. Back home I was considered intimidating. Here at the Academy, I am just another face in the crowd, and honestly that suits me fine. I like my job. It is simple, straightforward, boring even. Watch the monitors, walk the corridors, break up the occasional shoving match between hormonal alien teenagers who think they are tougher than they actually are. Easy work, good pay, retirement benefits. That was before Kira Valdez showed up. The humans had only been part of the Galactic Council for maybe 3 standard years when they started sending students to the Academy. Most species wait decades, even centuries, before they feel confident enough to throw their kids into the deep end of interstellar education. Not humans. They showed up to their first council meeting, signed some papers, and within 2 years they were shipping their brightest and their most interesting to our station. Kira was part of the second wave. 17 years old by human reckoning, which I am told is not quite an adult, but definitely not a child either. Humans have this weird in-between phase that lasts forever. She had dark hair pulled back in what they call a ponytail, brown skin, and these eyes that seemed to calculate trajectories and probabilities even when she was just walking to class. She was not the biggest human, not the loudest, not the one who stood out in a crowd, which, as it turns out, was exactly why she was so dangerous. The incident happened on a 5th day, which is universally considered the worst day of the Academy week. Everyone is tired, everyone is cranky, and the dining hall always runs out of the good protein paste by mid-cycle. I was on my usual patrol route, walking the eastern residential corridor, when I got the alert. Code Orange. Unauthorized personnel in Sector 7. Multiple targets. Now, Code Orange is not exactly rare. We get maybe 1 or 2 per rotation, usually some idiot students trying to sneak into the restricted lab areas to steal exam answers or impress their romantic interests. But something about this one felt off. Sector 7 was the first-year cadet housing. Why would anyone need unauthorized access there? I quickened my pace, my boots making that distinctive thud, thud, thud sound on the metal decking. 4 legs have their advantages. I rounded the corner just in time to see 3 figures, all wearing dark environmental suits with no identifying markers, approaching a doorway. One of them was holding some kind of device, a scanner maybe, pointing it at different doors as they passed, and then they stopped, right outside Kira Valdez's quarters. My mandibles clicked together involuntarily. This was not students playing pranks. These were professionals. The way they moved, the equipment they carried, the coordinated hand signals they used. This was a retrieval team. I reached for my comm unit to call it in, but before I could even touch the button, the door to Kira's quarters opened, not from the outside, from the inside. She stood there in what I later learned was called a tank top and sweatpants, looking like she had just woken up from a nap. Her hair was loose now, falling around her shoulders, and she was holding a data pad in one hand. She looked at the 3 armed intruders in full tactical gear, then looked at me standing 30 meters down the corridor, then looked back at the intruders. And she smiled. Not a friendly smile. Not a nervous smile. This was the smile of someone who had just realized that their incredibly boring afternoon was about to get interesting. "Can I help you, gentlemen?" she asked, her voice carrying that distinctly human quality of sounding polite while meaning the exact opposite. The lead intruder, a Carthian if I had to guess by the build, reached for her. Big mistake. Huge mistake. Catastrophically stupid mistake. Kira moved like water. No, faster than water. She moved like electricity, like the space between one moment and the next. Her hand shot out, grabbed the Carthian's wrist, and twisted. There was a sharp crack that echoed down the corridor. The Carthian made a sound that I am pretty sure violated at least 3 of the station's noise ordinances. The second intruder lunged forward, trying to grab her from the side. Kira dropped low, swept the leg, and as he fell, she brought her elbow down on the back of his helmet, with enough force that I heard the impact from where I was standing. The helmet cracked. The intruder stopped moving. The third one, showing at least a minimal amount of intelligence, pulled out a neural disruptor. Those things are illegal in 17 systems, and for good reason. 1 hit and your nervous system shuts down for anywhere from 6 hours to 6 days depending on your physiology. He aimed it at Kira's center mass and fired. She was not there anymore. I swear to all the moons of Thela, I watched her move and I still cannot fully explain how she did it. She somehow anticipated the shot, dove to the side, rolled, came up behind him and delivered a kick to the back of his knee that folded him like a cheap tent. The disruptor clattered to the floor. She kicked it away, then put her foot on the back of his neck, not hard enough to injure but definitely hard enough to make her point. "Now then," she said, breathing only slightly harder than normal, "who wants to tell me which organization thought it would be a good idea to try and kidnap a human exchange student from a Galactic Council facility?" That was when I finally remembered I had a job to do. I activated my comm unit and called for backup, then started moving toward her position, but Kira held up one hand in a stop gesture. "Hold on, Korvan," she said, and I was momentarily surprised she knew my name. "These gentlemen and I are having a conversation. It would be rude to interrupt." The lead intruder, the one with the broken wrist, started laughing. It was not a pleasant sound. "You have no idea what you have done, human child. You have no idea who you are dealing with. I am dealing with 3 incompetent mercenaries who thought a first-year cadet would be an easy target," Kira replied, pressing down slightly harder with her foot. The third intruder made a choking sound. "What I do not know is who hired you. Was it the Viridian Collective? They have been making noise about human integration. Or maybe the Outer Rim cartels? I heard they have been trying to get their hands on human test subjects for some kind of augmentation research." The 3 intruders went very, very still. Kira's smile widened. Oh, that is interesting. So it is augmentation research, which means you are not here to kill me. You are here to take me somewhere. Which means someone thinks humans have something worth studying, something worth risking an interstellar incident over. "You talk too much," the Carthian growled. "I get that a lot," Kira agreed cheerfully. Then she looked up at me. "Korvan, I am going to need you to do me a favor. Can you access the security feed for this corridor?" I nodded slowly, pulling up my data pad. "Yes, but do not watch it yet. Just tell me if it is recording." I checked. Active recording. Time-stamped and backed up to Central. "Perfect." She bent down, still keeping her foot on the third intruder's neck, and picked up the neural disruptor. She examined it for a moment, then pointed it at the ceiling. "And the camera is right up there, correct? Junction box 7. Correct. But what are you doing?" "Fixing a problem," she fired. The neural disruptor beam hit the camera housing dead center. Sparks exploded outward, raining down on the corridor. The recording indicator on my datapad went red, then black. "Now," Kira said, turning back to the intruders, "we are going to have a much more honest conversation. The kind that does not get recorded. The kind where you tell me exactly who sent you, why they sent you, and what their long-term plans are regarding humans at this academy." The Carthian spat something in his native language that I am pretty sure translated to an anatomically improbable suggestion. Kira shrugged. "Have it your way." She raised the neural disruptor and fired 3 times in quick succession. All 3 intruders convulsed once, then went limp. She checked each of their pulses, nodded to herself, then calmly walked over to the camera housing and fired 2 more shots directly into the backup storage unit. Then she looked at me, really looked at me, and I realized with absolute certainty that this 17-year-old human girl had just committed at least 6 violations of Academy protocol and probably half a dozen interstellar laws, and she had done it all while knowing exactly what she was doing. "Korvan," she said, You seem like a decent person. You have always been polite to me in the corridors. You help lost first years find their classrooms, and you split your lunch rations with the maintenance crew when they are working overtime. So I am going to be straight with you. I could not move, could not speak, could only listen. Those three are going to wake up in about 4 hours, with splitting headaches and no memory of the last 6 hours. Neural disruptors do that if you use them correctly. When they wake up, they are going to be in holding cells, and they are going to have no idea how they got there. The security footage for this corridor is corrupted beyond recovery. It happens sometimes with older systems. You arrived 30 seconds after I had already subdued them. You did your job perfectly. Do you understand what I am telling you? You want me to lie in my report, I said slowly. I want you to report what you saw. 3 intruders attempted to breach a student's quarters. Said student defended herself using Academy-approved self-defense techniques. You arrived and took the suspects into custody. The security camera malfunctioned during the incident, which is unfortunate but not unprecedented. Everything else? She gestured vaguely at the unconscious bodies. Everything else is classified under human diplomatic protocols that supersede Academy jurisdiction. Does that actually exist? As of about 90 seconds ago, yes. She held up her datapad, showing me what looked like an official council document with more stamps and seals than I could count. I just filed it. Emergency Powers Clause, subsection 42. Any human citizen under threat on council property can invoke immediate classified status on any incident involving potential harm. It is new, buried in the integration treaty, and almost nobody knows about it yet. I stared at her. How do you know about it? Because I read the entire treaty twice. Once in standard, once in the original Earth languages. Did you know there are over 6,000 distinct languages on Earth? And humans managed to agree on a single unified treaty document. That should tell you something about how seriously we take this. Backup arrived. 6 more security officers, all looking confused about why they had been called for what appeared to be 3 unconscious intruders and 1 calm cadet. I gave my report. Kira gave hers. They matched perfectly, except for all the parts that did not happen the way we said they did. The intruders were taken to medical, then holding. The investigation began, and 3 days later, when the neural disruptor effects finally wore off completely, all 3 of them stuck to the same story. They had no idea how they got onto the station, no memory of who hired them, no recollection of anything after accepting a job posting on some anonymous network. The case went cold within a week. But I knew, and Kira knew, that I knew, and every time I saw her in the corridors after that, walking to class with her datapad under her arm, looking like the most ordinary student on the entire station, she would give me that same smile. The smile that said humans were not just new to the galactic stage, they were playing an entirely different game, with entirely different rules, and the rest of us were only just beginning to figure that out. Human firstly, indeed. That is what HFY stands for, right? I looked it up later. Seems appropriate. The thing about working station security is that you develop instincts. You learn to read patterns, to notice when something is slightly off, when the normal rhythm of daily life gets disrupted by even the smallest anomaly. And ever since the incident with Kira Valdez, my instincts had been screaming at me non-stop that something much bigger was happening beneath the surface of our quiet little academy. I started paying attention. Really paying attention. Turns out, Kira was not the only human who seemed to have abilities that went far beyond what their official files suggested. There was Marcus Webb, a lanky kid from somewhere called California, who could calculate hyperspace trajectories in his head faster than our quantum computers. There was Amara Okonkwo, who had apparently memorized the complete biological profiles of every species in the Council and could identify chemical compounds by smell alone. And then there was Tommy Liu, who looked like he could barely lift his own backpack but who I personally witnessed bend a solid steel support beam with his bare hands when he thought nobody was watching. The humans were not just students. There was something else. Something carefully selected, carefully trained, and very carefully placed throughout the academy. It took me 2 weeks of careful observation and even more careful database queries to figure out the pattern. Every human student at the academy had been involved in some kind of incident within their first month. Nothing major, nothing that made the official reports, but always something that required them to demonstrate capabilities that seemed to surprise everyone except themselves. They were testing us, or testing the station, or testing something. I decided I needed answers, which meant I needed to talk to Kira again. But approaching her directly seemed like a bad idea. The girl had taken down 3 trained operatives in under 30 seconds, and then erased all evidence of how she had actually done it. If she did not want to talk to me, I would probably end up very politely but very firmly being told to mind my own business. So I waited, I watched, and 3 days later opportunity presented itself in the form of a broken environmental regulator in Sector 12. Sector 12 was where the Academy kept its advanced engineering labs. Students were not supposed to be there after hours unless they had special permission, but at 2 in the morning station time, my sensors picked up movement in Lab 7, one person, moving carefully but not sneaking, like they had every right to be there, even though they definitely did not. I checked the access logs. Kira Valdez, authorized entry under a research exemption. I was 99% certain she had fabricated herself. I made my way to Lab 7, making sure my footsteps were audible. No point in surprising someone who could apparently move faster than my eyes could track. When I entered, I found her sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by at least 40 different data pads, all displaying different information streams. She did not look up when I entered. "Evening, Korvan," she said, scrolling through something on the pad in her hands. "Before you ask, yes, I am supposed to be here. No, I am not doing anything dangerous. And yes, I will clean up before I leave. I am not here about lab protocol," I said, closing the door behind me. "I am here because I want to know what is really going on. With you, with all the humans, with whatever operation you were clearly running on my station." That got her attention. She looked up, studied me for a long moment, then gestured to the floor beside her. "Sit. This might take a while." I sat, which, given my size and the number of limbs I need to fold properly, took longer than I would have liked. By the time I was settled, Kira had apparently made some kind of decision. "What do you know about the Convergence War?" she asked. "The what?" "Right. Of course. It has not happened yet from your perspective." She rubbed her eyes, suddenly looking much older than 17. "Okay, let me try this a different way. What do you know about human history? Real history, not the sanitized version they put in the Council integration documents. I know you are a relatively young species, pre-warp until about 60 years ago. You had some internal conflicts, unified eventually, developed faster than light travel, and then spent the next few decades trying to convince the Council you were not going to blow yourselves up or conquer the galaxy. Close enough." Kira picked up one of the data pads, tapped a few commands, and projected a holographic star map into the air between us. "Here is what the Council does not know, and what humanity has been very careful not to mention. We did not develop faster than light travel, we stole it." I felt my secondary heart skip a beat. "Explain." 73 years ago, a ship landed in the desert outside a place called Nevada. Not a human ship. Something else. Something older. The crew was dead. Had been dead for maybe 1,000 years, but the ship still worked. It took our best scientists 15 years to figure out how to turn it on, another 10 to actually understand what they were looking at, and another 5 to reverse engineer enough of it to build our own version. That is impossible. The Council has protocols. We monitor developing species. If there had been an ancient vessel on Earth, we would have known. Would you, though? Kira's smile was sharp. You monitor radio signals, energy signatures, obvious signs of technological development. You do not do archaeological surveys of every pre-warp planet. Why would you? There are millions of them, and this ship was buried deep. It was only found because of some very specific seismic activity and a mining operation that went deeper than it was supposed to. She zoomed in on a section of the star map, highlighting a region of space I did not recognize. The ship had star charts, records, Fragments of data that took decades to translate, and what we learned scared us so badly that every government on Earth agreed to keep it classified at the highest possible level. We learned that there was a war, a big one, maybe 3,000 years ago, and whoever was fighting it had technology that makes current council capabilities look like stone tools. The Precursors, I breathed. You are talking about the Precursors, so you do know about them? They are a legend, a myth. There is no actual evidence they existed. There is now. Kira pulled up another file, this one showing what looked like mathematical equations that hurt my head to look at. The ship we found had weapons systems. We have not been able to activate most of them, but we have been able to analyze them. And what we found suggests that whoever built this stuff was fighting something that required weapons capable of sterilizing entire star systems in minutes. I did not say anything, could not say anything. So humanity had a choice, Kira continued. We could tell the Council what we found, hand over the technology, and hope that several thousand years of bureaucratic peace had not made the galaxy too soft to handle what might be coming. Or we could keep our mouths shut, use the technology to accelerate our own development, join the Council as quickly as possible, and start preparing for a threat that might not show up for another 1,000 years, or might show up tomorrow. You chose the latter. We chose survival. And part of that survival strategy meant making sure we understood exactly how the current galactic political structure works, where its weaknesses are, and whether the Council could actually defend itself if something from the Precursor era showed up looking for a fight. And that is why you are here, all of you. You are not students, you are intelligence operatives. We are both, Kira corrected. Everything we are learning here is real. We are genuinely interested in galactic culture, politics, science, all of it. But yes, we are also gathering data, assessing capabilities, making sure that if the worst happens, humanity has enough allies and enough information to coordinate an actual defense. And the incident with the mercenaries? That was a complication. Someone got wind that humans might have access to precursor artifacts, probably through black market channels, rumors, that kind of thing. They wanted to grab one of us, run some tests, see if we had been augmented or modified in some way. The answer is no, by the way. We are just very, very well trained. You took down 3 armed professionals like they were children. I have been training in 6 different martial arts since I was 5 years old. Close quarters combat, weapons systems, tactical analysis, all of it. Every human at this academy has similar training, just specialized in different areas. Marcus can hack any system in the galaxy given enough time. Amara can synthesize antidotes for poisons that have not even been discovered yet. Tommy has been genetically optimized for strength and endurance since before he was born. We are what happens when an entire species decides that being average is not good enough. I processed this for several long moments. So what happens now? Do you kill me to keep this secret? Kira actually laughed at that. A real laugh, full of genuine amusement. Stars no. What kind of monsters do you think we are? Korvan, I am telling you this because I need your help, and because I think you are smart enough to understand why this has to stay quiet for now. My help? Those 3 mercenaries did not give up. They do not remember what happened, but their employers do, and whoever hired them is going to try again, probably with better planning and more resources. I need someone on the inside of station security who can feed me information about suspicious activities, unauthorized access attempts, anything that seems off. Someone I can trust. And you think that is me? You have been watching us for 2 weeks. You figured out there was a pattern. You came here in the middle of the night to ask questions instead of reporting your suspicions to your superiors. Yes, Korvan, I think that is you. She stood up, started gathering the data pads. I am not asking you to betray the Council or compromise station security. I am asking you to help me protect 2,000 students, human and otherwise, from people who would kidnap them, for research purposes, people who do not care about interstellar law or diplomatic immunity or basic decency. And in return I will make sure that when things eventually get complicated, which they will, humanity remembers that you were on the right side. I thought about it. about the 3 unconscious intruders, about the erased footage, about everything I had seen over the past few weeks, about the way Kira had moved, fought and won against opponents who should have crushed her, about what it meant that humanity had found Precursor technology and instead of sharing it, had weaponized it into their own people. If I do this, I said slowly, I need to know something. Are humans planning to take over the council? Is this all preparation for some kind of conquest? No. Kira's voice was absolutely certain. Conquest requires resources we do not have and creates enemies we do not need. What we want is survival. What we want is to make sure that if the thing that killed the precursors comes back, we are ready. And right now, the council is not ready. Not even close. And you think you can change that? I think we can try. One student at a time, one relationship at a time, one small improvement to galactic defensive capabilities at a time. It will take decades, maybe centuries, but humanity is very good at long-term planning. I stood up, all 4 arms spreading in a gesture of acceptance. All right, I will help you, but if I find out you are lying to me, if I discover this is actually some elaborate scheme to harm the council or its member species, I will stop you. I do not care how fast you move or how well trained you are. Fair enough. Kira extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement. I took it carefully, worried I might crush her smaller appendage, but her grip was firm and strong. Welcome to the team, Korvan. You just became part of the most important secret in galactic history. 3 months later, the Academy announced a new joint security initiative, pairing experienced station personnel with student liaisons to improve communication and response times during emergencies. I was assigned to work with Kira Valdez. Officially, it was random selection. Unofficially, I was pretty sure she had hacked the assignment algorithm. We worked together for the rest of that academic year. She taught me things about human culture, human thinking, human adaptability. I taught her about council protocols, security procedures, the unwritten rules that governed life on a multi-species station. We stopped 2 more kidnapping attempts, prevented a sabotage effort that would have destroyed the entire Eastern Wing, and quietly identified 7 undercover operatives from various criminal organizations. And through it all, I kept thinking about what she had said, about the precursors, about the war they fought, about what might still be out there waiting in the dark between the stars. Humanity had found something in the desert, something old, something powerful, something terrifying, and instead of running away or begging the council for protection, they had looked at it and decided to become strong enough to face it. That is what HFY means. Not that humans are better than everyone else, but that when faced with impossible odds, with threats beyond comprehension, with a universe that does not care whether they live or die, humans choose to stand up and fight anyway. And maybe, just maybe, that is exactly what the galaxy needs. 2 years after the hallway incident, Kira graduated with honors. She was recruited into Council Intelligence, where I am told she is doing excellent work. I still get messages from her occasionally, usually coded updates about various operations or warnings about potential threats to the Academy. Last week she sent me something different. A data file, heavily encrypted, with instructions not to open it unless I heard that something had happened to her. I have not opened it. I hope I never have to. But I keep it on my personal storage drive, right next to my backup copies of the corrupted security footage from that hallway. The footage I definitely did not make before Kira destroyed the originals. The footage that shows exactly what she did, and exactly how impossible it should have been. Sometimes late at night when the station is quiet and I am alone in my quarters, I watch those 30 seconds of video. I watch her move, watch her fight, watch her win, and I think about what it means that an entire species has been preparing for a war that might never come, against an enemy that might not even exist anymore, using technology they barely understand. They are terrifying, absolutely terrifying, but I am very glad they are on our side. For now.